Hi everyone, I'm Chany and I'm going to read the Social Studies textbook with you guys. And also this book is for 4th graders. I made this content recently, so I'm going to separate the videos with chapters. So today we are going to read about chapter 1 of Unit 1. And let's get started. Our first unit's title is the United States. The chapter 1's title is Exploring the United States. And before the start, I think I have to explain about chapters. There are 3 chapters in a unit. Ta-da! We are on lesson 1. And I recommend you to memorize these vocabularies. So let's start reading. Lesson 1. Where is the United States? Global address. There are many ways to describe a place's location. One way is to give its global address or where it is on Earth. Which hemispheres? To give the global address of the United States, you can say in which hemispheres or halves of Earth it lies. Geographers use 2 imaginary lines to divide Earth into hemispheres. One line, called the equator, circles Earth halfway between the North Pole and the South Pole. Every place north of the equator is in the Northern Hemisphere. Every place south of the equator is in the Southern Hemisphere. Because the United States lies north of the equator, it is in the Northern Hemisphere. Another imaginary line, called the prime meridian, divides Earth into the Western and Eastern Hemispheres. Because the United States lies west of the prime meridian, it is in the Western Hemisphere. Which continent? You can also use continents to describe the global address of the United States. The 7 continents are the largest land areas on Earth. The United States is part of the continent of North America. Relative location. Another way to describe a place's location is to give its relative location. The relative location of a place is where it is in relation to other places on Earth. Between 2 countries. You can use other countries to describe relative location. Most of the United States lies south of Canada and north of Mexico. In fact, our nation shares its northern border with Canada and much of its southern border with Mexico. A border is a line that shows the end of a place. Between 2 oceans. You can also use bodies of water to describe relative location. Water covers most of Earth's surface. Most of the water is in the oceans. The United States lies between 2 of the world's oceans. The Pacific Ocean forms the country's western border. The Atlantic Ocean is its eastern border. Your state's relative location. There are ways to describe in more detail where you live. You can name your state and describe its relative location. Most Americans live in one of the 48 states that lie between Canada and Mexico. Perhaps you live near the Gulf of Mexico. A gulf is a part of an ocean or sea that reaches into the land. The Gulf of Mexico is part of the Atlantic Ocean. It forms part of the southern border of the United States. Wow! We are done on reading lesson 1. And our last step is to do review test. So, first question. Where is the United States located on Earth? We can say the United States is located on the Northern Hemisphere and the Western Hemisphere. And also, it is located in the continent of North America. Number 2. Use the terms of equator and prime meridian to explain hemispheres. You can answer like this. The equator and the prime meridian are imaginary lines which divide Earth, but equator divides Earth into the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. But differently, prime meridian divides Earth into the western and eastern hemispheres. Okay, so number 3. What countries and oceans border of the United States? We can answer like this. The Pacific Ocean is its western border, and the Atlantic Ocean forms the country's eastern border. And also we can say Canada is in the north of the United States, and Mexico is south of the United States. Number 4. Why do you think identifying location is the first step in studying a place's geography? I think this is an opinion question, but I wrote like this. I think we can't know the country's physical features and landforms if we don't know its location. And we will skip number 5 and 6 because we have to, these questions have to write paragraph. So let's turn to lesson 2. Beep. Oh, I forgot our map and globe skills. So I will summarize these paragraphs into five or some sentences. I think these parts teach us latitude and longitude, but I will teach to you shortly. So latitude is a line that runs like this, south equator. So we can say equator is an example of latitude, and longitude runs north and south. So we also can say the prime meridian is an example of the longitude. Okay. Wow, I think we learned almost all of lesson 1. And lesson 2 would be, I think, much easier. Yeah, we are on lesson 2, the American landscape. Let's start reading 2. In the east, your trip starts on a sandy beach along the Atlantic Ocean. The land here is flat and low. In fact, you are standing at sea level. Land that is at sea level is level with the surface of the ocean. The coastal plain. The flat lands stretching along the Atlantic Ocean make what is called the coastal plain. A coastal plain is an area of low land that lies along the coast of an ocean. In Massachusetts, the coastal plain is a narrow strip of land only 10 miles wide. Further south, the plain gets much wider. By the time you reach the Gulf of Mexico, the coastal plain is hundreds of miles wide. The Appalachian Mountains. As you move west from the coastal plain, the land rises higher and higher. Finally, you reach the highest lands in the eastern United States, the Appalachian Mountains. This chain of mountains stretches more than 1,500 miles from Alabama into Canada. The Appalachians are the oldest mountains in North America. They were once very tall. Over time, rain and winds have worn down their peaks. Now, the mountains appear rounded and no peak is higher than 7,000 feet. Okay, and this is map, which show the locations. In the middle, after you cross the Appalachian Mountains, you reach a huge area of low grassy lands. You are now on the interior plains. These plains reach north from Mexico through the middle of the United States and into Canada. The Central Plains. The eastern part of the interior plains is known as the Central Plains. Here you see wide rivers, grassy hills, and forests. In the northern part of the Central Plains are the Green Lakes. These 5 connected lakes, Superior, Michigan, Huron, Erie, and Ontario, form the largest group of freshwater lakes in the world. The Great Plains. Most of the land on the interior plain is flat, but there are some hills on the outer plateau. You see low mountains covered by forests. A plateau is a high flat area of land. For the rest, the land becomes much flatter and higher. You are now on the Great Plains. Here you see few rivers and lakes and hardly any trees. Grasslands stretch across the land for miles and miles. The Great Plains is home to mountains such as the Black Hills of South Dakota and Wyoming. A mighty river. Hundreds of rivers flow through the United States. The mighty Mississippi River is one of the longest rivers in North America. It runs through the middle of the interior plains. Like all rivers, the Mississippi starts at a high place and flows to lower land. Its source is a small lake in Minnesota. The source of a river is a place where it begins. From the lake, the Mississippi flows south for 2,340 miles. Along its route, the Mississippi is joined by many tributaries. A tributary is a river or stream that flows into a larger river. Together, a river and its tributaries make up a river system. Some major tributaries of the Mississippi River system include the Ohio, Missouri, and Arkansas rivers. The Mississippi River system drains rain and melts snow away from the surrounding lands. It then carries this water all the way to the river's mouth at the Gulf of Mexico. The mouth of a river is the place where it empties into a larger body of water. In the West, traveling west from the interior plains, you see many different landforms. There are tall mountains, steep valleys, green forests, vast deserts, and miles of rocky coastline. The Rocky Mountains. The first mountains you see in the West are the Rocky Mountains. These mountains are also called the Rockies. They form North America's longest mountain range or group of connected mountains. The Rockies stretch more than 3,000 miles from Mexico all the way to Alaska. The Rockies are young mountains. They are steep, rugged, and tall. Wind and water have not yet worn down their peaks. More than 40 peaks in Colorado are higher than 14,000 feet. West of the Rockies, you see that the land gets lower. You are now in the Intermountain region, or the land between mountains ranges. The Great Basin covers the middle parts of the Intermountains region. A basin is low bowl-shaped land with higher ground around it. The Great Basin has some of the driest and lowest lands in North America. The Great Basin lies between the Columbia Plateau in the north and the Colorado Plateau in the south. Much of the land on both plateaus is carved into canyons. A canyon is a deep, narrow valley with steep sides. Pacific Mountains and Valleys. More mountains lie west of the Intermountain region. The Sierra Nevada, Cascade Range, and Coastal Ranges run through California, Oregon, and Washington. The coastal ranges give the western coast of the United States a rocky, rugged look. In Alaska, the Alaska Range has the highest peak in North America, Mount McKinley. Broad valleys spread between many of the Pacific Mountains. These valleys have rich soil that is good for growing crops. Lesson 3's title is Climate in the United States. The Big Picture. How would you describe today's weather where you live? You could talk about the temperature or how hot or cold the air is. You could also talk about the amount of precipitation or water that falls to Earth's surface as rain, sleet, or snow. You might mention how windy it is. The temperature, the wind, and the precipitation in a place on any given day make up the weather. What is climate? How would you describe the climate where you live? Climate is the kind of weather a place has over a long time. You might have a very cold winter one year. However, the climate there is usually warm and dry. To describe climate, you have to look for patterns in the weather for over many years. Effects of weather and climate. In a large country such as the United States, types of the weather and climates vary from place to place. Still, no matter where you live, weather and climate play an important role in daily life. They affect what clothes people wear and where they choose to live. They can also affect how people earn a living and what they do for fun. A variety of climates. Different parts of the United States have a very different climates. There are many reasons for the differences. How far from the equator? Places in the United States are located at different distances from the equator. Those distances affect climate. The sun's warming rays hit the equator directly all year around. As a result, the closer place is to equator, the warmer it usually is. This explains why Hawaii has a much warmer climate than Alaska. Hawaii is the state closest to the equator, while Alaska is the state farthest from the equator. What is the elevation? Elevation also affects climate. In general, Temperatures become cooler as you go higher above sea level. For this reason, although Hawaii's climate is mostly warm, its high mountains areas are cold. How far from the ocean? Oceans affect climate too. They warm the land near the coast in winter, then cool it in summer. Oceans also add moisture or humidity to the air. Humid or moist places usually get more rain than drier places. Because Hawaii is surrounded by the Pacific Ocean, it gets more rain than any other state. What landforms are nearby? The landforms that are near a place also affect its climate. For example, the mountain ranges in the western United States act like walls. They block moist Pacific air from reaching land on their eastern side. As a result, eastern Oregon gets much less rain than western Oregon. This is our last lesson, and it is about natural resources. Land resources. The United States has many important natural resources. People depend on them to grow food, raise animals, and build homes. Soil. Much of our nation has fertile soil, especially in its river valleys and on its plains. This rich soil helps farmers grow large amounts of food. Every year, farmers in the United States grow wheat, corn, fruits, soybeans, and other crops. Ranchers in the United States also depend on soil. They need grasses and crops to feed their cattle and other livestock. Trees. Trees grow well in many parts of our nation. In fact, forests cover nearly 1/3 of the land in the United States. People use trees to make homes and many wood products such as furniture. Pencils and papers in this book are made from trees too. Renewable resources. Trees are an example of a resource that is renewable. People can plant new trees to replace the ones they leave. However, trees need many years to grow. For this reason, people in the United States work together to use forest resources wisely. Water resources. Water is perhaps our most important natural resource. People cannot survive more than a few days without it. People get fresh water from several sources and use it in many ways. Getting fresh water. Lakes, rivers, streams, and groundwater supply almost all of the fresh water people use. Groundwater is the water that sinks beneath Earth's surface when it rains or snows. In some places, people dig deep wells to get groundwater. In others, people pump water from rivers or human-made lakes. They may dig ditches and lay pipes across the land to bring water into dry areas. Using water. People use water in many ways. They drink it and use it to wash and to cook. People also use water for boating and other activities for fun. Industries use a lot of water too. An industry is all the businesses that make one kind of product or provide one kind of service. For example, farmers need water to grow crops, and fishers catch fish in the water. In some parts of the United States, water is used as a source of power. The energy from moving water can be used to produce electricity. That electricity lights homes and offices and run machines in factories. Minerals and fuels. Some natural resources are not as easy to see as water, trees, or soil. They are buried deep under the ground. Minerals. Minerals are natural substances found in rocks. Copper, gold, silver, and other metals are minerals. They are used to make wire, coins, pots, and jewelry. Iron, marble, and limestone are used to construct buildings. Sand and gravel are used to build roads. Fuels. Other underground resources are fuels. A fuel is a natural resource that is used to make heat or energy. The United States has large amounts of oil, natural gas, and coal. People use oil and natural gas to cook food, heat buildings, and run machines. They use oil and coal at power plants to produce electricity. Other industries use oil to make gasoline, plastics, paints, tires, and many other products. Non-renewable resources. Minerals and fuels are examples of resources that are non-renewable. They cannot be replaced. Once renewable resources are used up, they are gone forever. Even renewable resources can become scarce or limited if overused. For this reason, Americans try to use natural resources wisely. People and resources. When people use natural resources, they change their environment. They change the surroundings in which people, plants, and animals live. Using resources wisely, over time people have realized that all resources are limited. People today understand the importance of conservation. Conservation is the protecting of natural resources and using them wisely. Using fewer natural resources is one way to conserve them. People can save oil by driving less. Many Americans also recycle or reuse products. Recycling paper, for example, conserves trees. Wow, we learned about United States, landform, landscape, climate, and also resources. I will also upload the video which is about lesson chapter 2, and I'll be on next video. If this video helped you a lot, please subscribe. Bye!